Turn up the dial, sports lovers. We are into the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Hello and welcome to Fox Sports Lab NFL. I'm Ben Dixon, your host, and with me, the NFL expert, Jaymz Clements. Welcome, James.
Thanks, Ben. I'm like Tom Brady's kids at the moment. Ready to see my dad? No, just ready. Let's go.
Coming up, what we learned from the wild card round. Our special guest, Freddie Mitchell, will rate the Philadelphia Eagles and all our tips and predictions for week 2 of the playoffs. Let's get straight into it and introduce our very special guest, a man who played in the 2004 Super Bowl with the Eagles. Freddie Mitchell is back. Welcome, Freddie.
Guys, good to be back. What an amazing week of football last week. I'm excited for this week.
Let's get straight into it. Let's recap on the opening weekend, Freddie. What did you learn from the wild card round? Have you got a list of highs and lows for us?
Well, I learned that there's a couple bad teams that will be easy wins for this week, and I will tell you on my predictions later on. But I really did learn that it doesn't matter what kind of quarterback you have. If you have a great system, you're in.
What about you, James? What were the highs of the opening weekend for you?
Well, I think what Fred X is trying to say over here as well is just the simple idea of like, look, you can have someone like Brock Purdy as your quarterback and you can still win, right? That's right, Freddie. I love this. The Niners dominating that game over Seattle in the second half. He looked pretty good, I'll tell you that. But the last pick in the draft was absolutely fantastic. But I think, as Freddie says, right, you can have a system, you can have Kyle Shanahan's system, and you can just go into a game with this, the last pick in the draft and win. You get some absolute vibes from that Niners team. Offense, defense, that dominating defense was amazing. I'll tell you what was also fantastic about this last weekend. How good was Sam Hubbard? The big guy touchdown. I love a good big guy touchdown, Freddie. It's the most sort of fun moment in all of sport, I reckon. That Cincinnati, basically, it would have been going absolutely chaos there, I reckon. Probably the loudest spot on planet Earth at that exact moment is number 98 returning that fumble, and off he goes. But it was a crazy weekend. I've got to agree with Freddie there. It was awesome.
Well, you did touch on the 49ers. Did they give you a Super Bowl feel?
They did, I think, just because that defense was so good, and the offense, as Freddie alludes to, right, you can sort of just plug and play with anybody in that system because it's so talented. But, I mean, you've got KC, Kansas City Chiefs, still favourites, Buffalo right behind them. The Niners have shifted ahead of the Eagles in favouritism to actually win the Super Bowl, and then Freddie's former team, the Eagles, in 4th spot. But it's a wild sort of setup going into this divisional round, and these matchups are absolutely incredible. But this wildcard weekend, I mean, there were some weird moments, as Freddie also pointed out.
Well, Freddie, do you have the Super Bowl feel for the 49ers?
Well, you know what? The thing about it is I think that they are on the right role and they're really in the right position. But there's only one trump card that we have. We, and I mean the Philadelphia Eagles, because I am a Philly fan, and I know James is a Boston Patriot fan, so we don't really have to worry about that right now. But as far as the Eagles go, we have home field advantage, and that's going to be big. And you're going to see that in my picks when I show you who I picked and who I have and who's the upsets and things like that.
James, we've touched on the highs. Now, what were the low points for you?
A couple of low points from this wildcard round. Pretty easy. The Chargers blowing a 27-zip lead. That was absolutely horrible. It was abysmal, Dicko. At that point, you're up 27-0. You could almost exclusively literally run the ball on every single down.
Yes.
And almost eke out the entire clock and not lose that game. Of course, Freddie's beloved Dallas Cowboys, his famed NFL East rivals, beating Tom Brady for the first time was pretty incredible. Tom Brady losing for the first time to Dallas was pretty amazing. Bit of a low for him, just because, I don't know, if sacrificing your family, your marriage for a first-round playoff loss is really worth it, but here we are. That was a bit sad, bit of a low. Watching the Bills and Bengals is probably the low point, though. Like, having these two really good teams almost blow it, I'd be a bit worried if I was a fan of those teams.
All right, coming up, we will dissect the 2 NFC games of the Divisional Round playoffs, including a look at Freddie's Eagles.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
Let's get into the games, but before we tackle the 49ers and the Cowboys, Freddie, you were bang on the money last week saying the Eagles would make week 2 of the playoffs. Great call. You stuck your neck out on that, even though they did have the bye. But are you going in on a limb to say the Eagles will make week 3?
This is a scary situation, guys, and I'm going to tell you why this is scary, and I want to see if James has my back on this. I understand that we are the best team on the field. We have the home field advantage, but the thing about it is, with the crowd noise with the Eagles fans will boo their own team, so it's really not a home field advantage. So it kind of scares me. Plus the fact that the Eagles full team played a bunch of backups and only won by 6 points. That scares me because Saquon Barkley is a beast. He is the man, and their quarterback is coming into his own. So I really think that the Eagles will win this, but it'll be a close game, and I only have them winning it by a field goal.
Freddie's asked you, does James have your back? Do you have his back?
I love this, Freddie, because you sort of bring up the age-old question of rest versus rust. And you're playing a divisional round opponent. It's always tougher, right? Like, you've absolutely nailed this on the head. I mean, Philly, 9 straight at the link against the Giants. The thing is, as you mentioned, Philly at home this year, amazing. I think they're 7-2 just at home, 6-2 against the line at home, pretty handy. But the Giants are 8-1 on the road, just in general. That's amazing against the line. That's absolutely fantastic. So I kind of have to agree with Freddie here that it's going to be a pretty close game insofar as I think the Eagles do win. But I think the line sits around 7.5. I'm going to have to go with the Giants at the line because even though the Eagles' offense is deeper and more creative than Minnesota, who the Giants beat last week, the defense is better because Minnesota is just a bit of a bit of Swiss cheese over there. I like to see AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts as touchdown scorers. I think this is a really, really tight game though. The Giants, Saquon, as we hit on, Danny Dimes, Danny Jones. I think they make this an absolutely tight one. But the Philly Eagles and our man Freddie, they'll be celebrating at the end of it.
All right, Freddie, the Cowboys smothered Tom Brady like fire blanket stuff. Just put him out. But will they find it harder to stop another late round draft pick and the new quarterback on the block, Brock Purdy?
So I really have Purdy actually stepping into his own. I like this. I love the way that they're playing together as a team. Now notice in all the highlights that you see Purdy throwing to an open receiver. You see Purdy throwing to an open tight end. You see Purdy throwing to a McCaffrey that's fitting right into the system perfectly. I really do think that it's going to be very hard for the Cowboys to come in here and make some noise. And, let's face it, Dak Prescott is known to throw a couple picks, and the San Francisco 49ers will take advantage of it. I really do have the San Francisco 49ers taking this all the way, and I will see them in Philadelphia.
Well, he was strong on that. 49ers or Cowboys for you?
I love this because this matchup is incredible. Like Freddie sort of alludes to it. Like you got Brock Purdy and you can throw on this Cowboys defense. It's the one thing I think we learned from that Seahawks game last week. The Cowboys should be able to take advantage of that. But as Freddie sort of points out, Dak Prescott, Dakota, he'll give you a couple of interceptions here and there if you just give him a chance, right? But I do think the Cowboys can probably balance this, out with the run just a little bit more than we saw last week. And even though the Niners' run D is pretty good, I can see Dallas scoring early, but then getting bottled up, pretty similar to what we saw last week. But the thing is, Dallas just have that extra sort of level that they can go to that Seattle didn't. So I think they keep this close. I think the Niners just sneak it out at home, where I think they're 9-1 this season, 8-2 against the spread. They're an absolute covering machine there in California. This should probably be the best game of the 4, I think, for this weekend. It's going to be amazing. McCaffrey, he's had 7 games straight with a touchdown. He gets in again. The Niners win, but the Cowboys cover. If the line's at 3.5, 4-ish, the Cowboys keep it close enough to cover that line, I reckon.
All right, stick around. Next up, our first look at the Chiefs in this playoff series.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
Time to talk AFC playoffs, and we get our first look at the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. Freddie, the Jaguars face the Chiefs, and surely it will be a different story if they give up a huge lead at Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah, you're not going. I'm telling you what, if Trevor Lawrence, let me tell you, because I know you're listening right now, if you throw 4 interceptions against the Chiefs, you're done. You will be going to Waffle House or whatever restaurant you want to, but you will be taking that L, because you know what? Patrick Mahomes makes you pay for your turnovers. So it's going to be a whole different story if you do that. And let's face it, they have playoff experience. The Kansas City Chiefs have a Super Bowl caliber team, and they have playoff experience.
You going with the Chiefs? You sticking with Freddie?
I got to stick with Freddie as well. I think this is an absolute smashing. I mean, he mentions like going to get a Waffle House. Yeah, I mean, I think the Jags after this game will just be going to the nearest barbecue joint there in Kansas City and just like smothering themselves in all that sweet, sweet barbecue sauce. But I've got to agree with him here, right? Just that simple idea of like, the Jags, they just played their Super Bowl. So, yeah, go on Chiefs.
Freddie's coming in hot. I'd be agreeing with him too, the way he's going about at the moment. He's up and about today. But James, recent history says the Chiefs have dominated Jacksonville. They've won 6 straight over them and are Super Bowl favourites. Can we expect any surprises in this one?
So the one thing that we sort of didn't hit on, though, is you want a surprise?
Yes.
Will there be surprises? Can we expect them? I mean, you can always expect a surprise. I'm not the boss of you, but will we have any surprises? No, we won't, because Andy Reid offered by Freddie. You know Andy Reid, this is it, 21-3 in his career. 9-0 with the Chiefs. That's huge, right?
I actually, texted Andy Reid about 2 nights ago, and he was very, very calm. He knows what he has. Now, the only surprises that I might see happening is Doug Peterson, the coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He actually knows Andy Reid's offense in and out. So there'll be a little struggle there because he knows the formation, he knows the calls and stuff like that. But other than that, there's no surprises. This is going to happen. And Andy Reid has something he always says. He says great teams beat good teams really, really convincingly. So I guess Jaguars, they're a good team.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, this is going to be a big Chiefs win, I reckon, because you've got Mahomes. I think this is a huge spot for him. 3+ touchdowns, I think, easily. I think this is a bit of coming off the bye. They'll be ready. So 3+ Mahomes touchdowns, a Kelsey touchdown, and the Chiefs don't play with their food. Big win, go the overs, Chiefs win, smash them, cover the 7.5. Jags have got no hope in this one.
I love that. Don't play with their food. Freddie, we didn't get a result the last time the Bills and Bengals met because of the Damar Hamlin scare, which was actually extremely scary. How do you think that incident will play on their emotions on Monday?
You know what? I really think that they're going to go out there and they're going to play hard for them, but they don't really need any motivation. You're an NFL football player. You're giving your all 100%. All the bulletin board material and the distractions and stuff that they think that'll happen, it won't happen. You have home field advantage. You're clearly a good team. You know what you're facing against, and I think that they can pull this one out. The Bills have a lot of Andy Reid disciples, and they play the same type of play. So, and don't discredit the receivers that the Bills are having too. I think it'll be okay if they have home field advantage. The Bills will take this one.
What do you think?
I got to kind of agree with the Bills taking it, but I think Freddie really sort of makes a good point about how tight this one will be. I mean, the Bills are 8-1 at home this year, but they're 4-5 against the spread at home, which tells me they let teams sort of hang around. And what we saw from Josh Allen last week against the Dolphins doesn't really fill me with a giant amount of confidence. The freelance Josh Allen, when he's absolutely flying, is like a sight to behold. But then something squirrely just happens. Like sometimes, Josh, it's fine just to throw a 6-yard out. It doesn't matter. You don't have to make it 66 yards. It can just be 6. I know that Freddie loves getting on the end of a 66-yard bomb, but the same point, I think the offense of this Bills team will probably be just a little bit too strong. But more importantly, isn't it, Freddie? It's like the offensive line for the Bengals is just too banged up. Even though this Bills defense doesn't have Von Miller, I think they still just pressure Joe Burrow too much and just keep that Bengals scoring down enough. I reckon Jamar Chase gets in for a touchdown. His yards over probably hit just because of that connection with Burrow. But otherwise, I've got a feeling the Bills just sort of run over the top of them. I think if the line, I think it's around 4, 3.5, 4, 4.5. I'd still probably go the Bengals because I think we talked about that 4 or 5 against the spread. But I think it's pretty close. What do you reckon, Freddie?
I agree with you. I think it'll definitely be a close game, but I think that with the Bills defense. I understand that their defensive strategy and where they're going. They're going to be playing hard. And I really do think the quarterback for the Bills, I think that he's really going to come out and have a great game. He has something to prove, and he's a young quarterback that's making a name for himself as well. So I think that they're going to really do their job.
Well, that's a wrap on our second Fox Sports Lab NFL show. Freddie, outstanding. We appreciate you coming on.
Go Birds. I'm nervous about this game with the Eagles, but go Birds. I'm just going to let you know I'm very nervous in Philadelphia right here.
Oh, so good to have you on. James, outstanding once again. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, Dicko, always. And if you want a multi for this week, I'm just saying, stick with Freddie's Birds, go head-to-head with them, and probably the Niners, and let's go Bills.
Love it. Make sure you subscribe below and follow us on socials. We'll see you again next week for our Conference Championships show.